Questions. We have tons of them. What if some of those questions can be answered with a simple email? Now is that time, and welcome to Chat with Charlie. Host Stephanie Lynn is a certified spiritual life coach and psychic medium. She will work together with Spirit to answer both your submitted and live questions. Not only will Stephanie be providing you with insight, but also interviews with amazing guests. Now, your host of Chat with Charlie, Stephanie Lynn.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chat with Charlie. Sorry if there was a little bit of a pause. I had lost all my video feed. So if I was sitting there looking like this, I apologize. But I want to welcome you to the show. We have a very exciting show today. I am so honored to have this person come on. And I've been trying. I've been like, come on my show. You know, it's hosted by WLTK-DB. But I get it because, and as you guys know, I mean, I was not always Stephanie Lynn, right? I was Charlie Lynn. I was so afraid for people to know who I was, what I was doing. And so it takes a while. And that's what we're really here to talk about today is our self journey, moving out of that fear and moving into who we are, learning to trust spirit. And so with that, I want to welcome my colleague, my friend, Beth from Young Intentions. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm so excited, honestly, and honored to have you here because I know what a huge step it is for all of us. You know, we get in that place and we get in our heads. And before we even get to all that, because I know our viewers are going to relate to so much of that, tell us a little bit about you, how you started moving into this journey to get to where you are now.
Well, this metaphysical, whole spiritual stuff wasn't anywhere on my radar.
Right.
And, you know, raised by a fairly religious family. I have ministers on both sides of my family. I've always been interested in going to psychic medium, but it's not something we ever talked about in my family.
Right.
And 2015, a friend of mine and I decided, just on a whim, to open up this alternative wellness studio here in our little community.
I love it.
And it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. It was really exciting, very much out of my box to do anything like that. And through that, we had different people come in to give little speeches and, you know, present what they do kind of thing. And one of those people that came in was Sue Hayes from Rainbow Rock Reiki from Dr. Falk. And she talked all about Reiki. And I was hooked immediately and took all of her training with the Reiki, became a Reiki master, did all of that whole thing. And through that process, just started learning more and more about the metaphysical world and meeting more people.
Right.
And then COVID hit, and I found this, well, a couple of years before I bought a box of tarot cards and was going to learn them right away. And I looked at them the first time, looked at the book that came with them, and went, this is so out of my realm, I don't understand.
Right.
And put them away. COVID hit, and I had some time on my hands, and I find this deck of cards, and I'm thinking, well, this is a good time as any, right?
Right.
So started taking some classes online and learned tarot and was just completely involved with it. And then Sue Haig at Rainbow Rock Reiki had this person named Stephanie come into her place and do a beginner's class on psychic mediumship.
Okay.
Let's do it. And from there, I met Stephanie and moved forward through all of her levels of classes, each level thinking, I'm just doing it because I'm curious. There's no
Right.
way I can do this.
Isn't that, I think it's super interesting how spirit pulls us into that, and they say, oh, hey, I think, we're going to ease you into this, and it's something you don't even see coming. And all of a sudden, bam, it's right there.
Yeah.
So before we talk about you going into that, I know we are having a little bit of feedback. So we're going to cut to a quick break. And Beth, I think it's on your end. So while we're on that break, if you could log out and try to log back in and see if that helps with that feedback. And we'll be back in just a minute, everybody, with Beth. Thank you.
Certified psychic medium Stephanie Lynn creates an authentic connection between the living and the spirit world. Stephanie knows she is here to help heal, educate, and provide validation that there is more after death, and allows herself to be a conduit and work as a team with spirit to pass on messages from their world to ours. Stephanie Lynn also works as a spiritual life coach to help you achieve, create, and manifest your best self and life. Looking for help communicating with an animal? Searching for a past life regression therapist? Or dealing with a paranormal experience? Stephanie Lynn is here to help. For a list of full services, visit her on Facebook under Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. That's Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. Ellie Weisensell's psychic medium is a medical intuitive that specializes as a body code practitioner. As an energy healer, Ellie offers additional services that allow her modalities to be intertwined with energetic healing. Within your subconscious lies information that knows everything about you and why you deal with specific conditions. The subconscious can be considered the blueprint to your entire body. With Ellie working physically with your subconscious mind, we detect what negative emotions are trapped and where they are stored within the body that is causing you your emotional and physical pain. This work is designed to remove imbalances and correct them energetically, getting to the root cause of why you have your condition, to help balance your body so it may heal itself. Your body is infinitely wise and wants to be in balance. The body code is not only gentle for humans, but it is also a gentle process to help animals. For more information, contact Ellie Weisensell at the website below.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It sounds like the feed is better now, so we shouldn't have that interference. We thank you all for your patience. So before we had cut to the break, Beth, we were talking about what, how spirit kind of brought into your life. They brought in Diet as your teacher. And, that saying that the teacher finds us at the right time, and I have found that to be true for myself. So how, after meeting her and starting to take these classes, do you feel like it just resonated with you, that it just felt like this is what you were missing on top of other pieces in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I found it very, very interesting in that, like, little things started clicking together. Like, things just started to make sense a little bit.
Right.
And, I never considered myself a sensitive person, like not in the way of being able to feel spirit and feel the energy of a room. My friend Dawn always would laugh at me because I would always say, I don't feel the energy of a room.
Right.
But as we went through all of this, it just became more and more evident. And a lot of it is just about trusting it. Like,
absolutely.
Obviously, I felt it, but I never really trusted it. And it's still hard for me to completely trust what I'm getting.
It is. And, even with students that I work with now, that's a big piece that I don't feel like ever really completely resolves. I mean, I feel like we build this relationship with spirit. As we start connecting, we start seeing consistency in what we're getting. And so we start to trust it. But for those of us that think a little bit more logically, I feel like there's always that little bit of like, I'll still find myself thinking, is this the day that I get committed? Like, is this really that far out there? And I still, there's times where it will creep in, and we're taught give what you get, but I will find myself holding back or maybe rewording where I should have just given it, even though it sounded crazy, I should have given it how it was, because it would have resonated.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And just as you go through the journey of discovering this about yourself, like you said, the teachers come into play, but also you find the people who
Yes.
are like-minded.
Yes.
They slowly come into your circle, and then it gives you a little bit more validity, I guess, of just that maybe this is real.
Right. And
Maybe this
I
is
like,
happening.
absolutely. And I like how you say that, because a lot of us, we did classes together. We had practice circles together. But up until, at least for me, and maybe it was this way for you, up until that point of being connected with people that were similar or similar in their thinking, I felt very alone and very isolated. So there was a lot of, even as a child with my abilities, where I held back because of societal views. I didn't have somewhere to take that. So have you found, as you've come into your abilities and as you're discovering more of yourself and connecting with these like-minded people, that you feel yourself pulled more in society, talking to people more who will support your views versus those who might look at it as taboo? How do you balance that?
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because I don't talk about this on a regular basis with this group of friends, or
Right.
this group of colleagues. I work in a public school, and there's one person that I talk to openly about it at
Right.
work, and a good friend. But otherwise, I don't talk about it at work, at least not very often. Um, and then you have the group of friends that are very like-minded, that they're the ones I turn to when
Right.
I'm having a struggle, or I'm feeling overwhelmed with what's going on, with energy wise of what's
Absolutely.
going on. Like, you have to have those people to turn to. And within my family, it's even a little bit challenging, because they all love me, and it's a very good situation, but they're like, really, is it real? Who
Right.
knows? um so even feeling that support within my own household sometimes is
Yeah.
questionable, and I
Well, and
get it.
absolutely. And I like how you bring that up, because even, last night, we had my husband's grandparents over for dinner, the holidays, and they had commented on one of the things in the house, and I kind of brushed over it with my explanation of what it was. And my husband said something, and they kind of looked at him, and I'm like, and I just kind of shook my head like, no, we're not going there with your great grandparents. Like, we're just, shh,
Right. Right.
and so I totally resonate with that still, because there are people within my family who I can talk about this openly. And, my sister called me the other day, and she was talking to one of our older cousins, and she had said something to her, and she's like, well, so your sister's a psychic medium? And I'm like, oh God, I can feel myself breaking out into these cold sweats. And I'm like, oh no, somebody else knows. And then my sister was like, yeah. And then she goes, well, is it our whole family that's like this? And I'm like, oh, all
Oh.
right, I can work with this. So it also opens up
Mm-hmm.
some of those discoveries of, yes, there's people who might not understand within the family, but then there's other ones who are like, oh, well, that makes sense because these things have been happening with me. And that part of the journey, I don't know about you, but for me has just been so humbling and so inspiring to realize these connections, but we just don't talk about them.
Yeah, there's been a few things in my family that I've looked back on.
Yeah.
Like I said, my family doesn't talk about it, and I can talk with my sisters a little bit about it, but just looking back on a few things in my childhood that make me
Right.
question whether there were other family members that may have had some of this
Right.
ability, skill, whatever it is. But I'll never get the answers to that because, we don't talk about it.
Right. I totally understand that. So we were talking before the show a little bit backstage about, if you guys follow Young Intentions, you see Beth almost every day. You're on there, you're reading cards, and I had laughed because when I had talked to Beth, again, it's that fear. It's this new audience of coming out and putting your face to it. And I still totally resonate with that because lately, and Beth and I were laughing, but Spirit's been saying to me, you need to do more, you need to go live. And I'm like, no, I don't think I do. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no. And they said, what's the problem? And I said, well, what if somebody sees me? And, my spirit guides, I don't know about everybody else, but I have one who's very sarcastic. And they're kind of like, well, what's the big deal? You're on this platform every week. Your face is out there every day. And I'm like, yeah, but what if somebody new sees me? Like, what if somebody who is not part of this general audience is like, oh, who's this? And then Spirit said, well, isn't that the point? And they're right, they're right. But
Right.
how do we navigate that?
It's
How do
so
we navigate
tough.
it?
Even just a few weeks ago, there's myself and three other psychic mediums that have been doing some little on the road kind of things around
Yes.
our area, and we did one down in La Crosse, and afterwards I got a Facebook message from a person from high school who I'm friends with on Facebook on my personal page, but
Right.
we've talked maybe twice in the last 10 years, that kind of thing. But she sent me a Facebook message and said, oh, I just saw you were at this place doing readings. I wish I would have known you did this. I would be so interested in learning about it. And my first instinct is pure panic because that's like, no, that's a different circle of people. You're not in this circle.
Right. Absolutely.
It's kind of like those circles are just starting to collide together. And I know it's supposed to happen. You wake up in the morning and I think today's the day I'm going to put it on my personal Facebook page. And I'm going to say, this is me and this is who I am. Like me or not, I don't care. It's not going to happen.
No. I can honestly tell you, as my personal page, I don't follow Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. I don't follow Chat with Charlie because heaven forbid it shows up on my personal page in the feed.
Okay.
And I get it. And it's those little steps, right? Spirits, as long as we're taking steps to work through it, right? That's at least what I tell myself.
My daughter helps me with my Facebook pages because she knows more than I do, and she was looking at my Young Intentions page and she said, well, Mom, you don't even like your own page, and she just hit like, and so I'm like, oh,
right.
Oh wait,
yes,
this is gonna show up on my personal page now. It's like, no, it'll be fine.
I've liked and unliked my pages several times where I'm feeling like brave one day and I'm like, yes, today's the day, I don't care. And then I'm like, nope, I lied.
It's just so silly because
it is.
Silly. Like, do we want those people in our lives if they're not going to accept us for who we are?
Exactly. Absolutely.
But it's still that fear of, somebody from high school is going to find out.
Right. Well, and I know, like you're talking about the venues, and even in venues that I've worked, or there's been times I've just gone to the venues to see who's there, to kind of collaborate with people. And I remember walking into one still when I went by Charlie, and I'm in there, and then all of a sudden there's a person I know, one of my kids' friends' moms, and I panicked.
Yeah.
But now looking back, she was there for the same reason. Why was I panicking? It's these, sometimes I really think that these are ingrained fears from either past childhood experiences or past lives that we're carrying over. Because really, like you said, she just like you were talking about your friend, she was going there for a reason.
Right.
And so it's not like it's somebody on the street that you're going up to and saying, "Hey, do you want to know what I do?" It's people who we look at them as not being in our circle, but really they are. They have those interests in it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Young Intentions. We're talking about the fear, and I'd really like some of our viewers to pop in, because I know a lot of our viewers have abilities. I know a lot of our viewers are struggling kind of with the same mentality that we are, to pop in some of their fears and see if we can help you with some of that. But so how do you go, just like me, people say, well, how can you be afraid? You have this platform, you're out there. I get it. It's counterintuitive. But how do you go from, this place of fear to starting Young Intentions, to wanting to inspire others?
It's funny because I just remember sitting around one evening and thinking, I want to start this. I want to do it separate from my personal self, and just trying to figure out a name and coming up with whatever.
Right.
And it just kind of slowly evolved, because it wasn't even like, oh, I'm going to just pull a card every day, or it was more of just, I don't even know how to explain it, just slowly taking those tiny, tiny baby steps.
Right. Where it feels right. It all of a sudden resonates.
Right. And Young Intentions just kind of grew from there, and kind of a backwards, like I did my first fair again. Our friend Dawn pushed me to do it.
Yes.
I thank her very much for that. But it was like, okay, we're doing a fair, so now I need a name. So now I need to know.
Right.
I need to figure out what am I doing with this?
Yes.
And it just slowly evolved, and I guess that's how Spirit wanted it to work.
Right.
And it still evolves. Like I'm still trying
absolutely
to figure out what I'm doing with that page.
Yeah. And and I tell people, if they ever meet somebody in this field, or really any field, that says, I've got it all figured out, I know everything, run. Because because it is always evolving. We're always educating ourselves. Spirit's always bringing in these life lessons that really adjust our perspectives and move us in different directions.
Absolutely.
So one thing I think, and that I guess I've kind of noticed for all of us, again, as we're stepping out, we're trying to figure out who we are, is Spirit will bring in like past lessons, or like this lesson of fear, where before fear was so crippling, that I couldn't use my name, or I couldn't do this, but that we move to a place where there's still fear, but it's workable. It's not crippling. So it moves us to a place of maybe examining that fear and working through it. Does that make sense?
I think it's very much about, like even this morning, like this terrified me.
Right.
I do fairs. I'm terrified. I have to sit in the car and I have to pump myself up. And I think it's the Spirit is just slowly giving us those steps. Like I said, those baby steps of, now you're going to do this. When you asked me to do this the first time, my very first instinct was absolutely not. Who would
Right.
want to hear from me? You know,
Yeah.
like, but it's just pushing through it. It's stepping up to that threshold of fear and just pushing through it and knowing and trusting. We go back to that trust again, that if if I wasn't meant to do this,
Right.
spirit wouldn't lead me to it.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that statement gives me goosebumps because that resonates so much
But
with me.
it's so hard to push through it, you know?
It is. And there's, I was sitting here just a couple days ago and I was feeling a little frustrated, feeling, when are things going to break away, or when are things going to change and go in a certain direction? And I was kind of mindlessly scrolling, how we do on Facebook when we're just trying to zone out. And I caught a little clip, so it wasn't even the whole picture. And all that was in the little clip, it said, God has not forgotten you. And when I opened the whole thing did not resonate with me, but that statement did. And by the end of that day, I had gotten some really exciting news and some new opportunities and collaboration. But it was just, they brought me to that. Whether the whole thing didn't fit, it was a reminder of, we unfold for a certain reason. We have these processes, these little steps for a reason.
Yes. And don't you love it when those little steps are just so visual and so authentic and real, and like, you see it and you can point to it, like to show somebody else, see, there's a sign.
Absolutely. And so many times, and we talk about it on the show, is people tend to have these moments, but then all of a sudden they rationalize it, or they don't take it as that sign. And so I think being open to that, I could have kept scrolling, but I knew not long before that I was talking to spirit. I was saying, hey, I'm doing this. I'm working through the fear. I'm not letting it cripple me. Do you see me? Do you still hear me? And then to receive that so blatantly back.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It really, really is. So I see we have some questions coming in from our viewers, which is, I appreciate. Keep sending those in as far as working through your fear. We'd love to help you. We're going to take a real quick break, and then when we come back, we will jump to Lisa's question.
Want to keep up with the latest at the station? How about catch up on your favorite shows on the go? Download the free WLTK-DB mobile app on the App Store and Google Play. Watch, listen, and shop right from the palm of your hand. The WLTK-DB mobile app. The truth is here and now. Get yours today.
Everybody, welcome back. If you're just joining in, we are being joined by Beth of Young Intentions. I know we do have some feedback coming in again, so before we jump to the questions, Beth, if you can pop back out and pop back in, because Todd does think it's on your end, and I'll just keep talking to everybody until Beth gets back. So I thank you so much for your patience as we work through the weather and the storms. They really tend to affect the internet sometimes. So thank you so much for being patient. What we are talking about today is working through that fear, working to assess and understand what Spirit's bringing us through so that we can work through that fear. We can work through those frustrations and follow Spirit. Hi, Beth. Welcome back.
Is it better?
It is better. It's
Good.
I think it's, the weather. I know my phone lines have been acting up with just the deep freeze and the dampness. And so sometimes that kind of plays in. So I want to jump to Lisa. Lisa says one of her biggest fears or discomforts is to encounter people who were in her church. She says she was a Sunday school teacher. She still has the faith, but does not resonate with the way religion presents it. She said, I just don't want to have those conversations or deal with my friend, warning her Christian friends to stay away from Reiki, for example.
Oh, Lisa, I feel you so strongly.
Yeah.
I can so relate to that. Like I said, I grew up in a very religious family. We're Presbyterians, so it's not like I always say Presbyterians accept everybody, but
Right.
they're still a religion. They're still, but they're very open to things. However, not all the people that are in your congregation are open to everything. And
Right.
I have been a part of my church for many, many years. I've been on the board and such, and I do a lot of things for our church. But at the same time, I feel what you're saying, like you don't necessarily want people to know because it's frightening for them to figure it out, to find out that this is what you do. I have had conversations with my minister. He's a wonderful, wonderful person, and he's open to a lot of things. But even that, I don't think, he's skeptical, and why wouldn't he be? Because he has no idea about this kind of thing. So I think it's just about, and I also agree with you about some parts of the way that it's presented don't resonate very much.
Yes.
I agree with that. And when I go to church, I take what resonates and I leave the rest behind. And
Absolutely.
There are some parts of the service that I have just chosen at this point to just be an observer and not be full in. And I feel like that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's what it's okay for me. So
yeah. And I love that. And I think, Lisa has commented down a little bit lower that she's heard this saying, don't spend your time on those committed to misunderstanding you. She says, which often feels maybe the case with her former church community. And I understand because I am kind of in that of I have faith, I have spirituality, but again, the way it's presented doesn't always resonate with me. And my children and I have talked about it, and my husband and I have talked about it. That doesn't mean that, I think in society, we tend to separate from people who have different views, or we tend to maybe look down on people who have different views, whether it's them looking down on us or how we perceive things. And I think one thing in society as a whole that we have to get back to is accepting each other's differences.
absolutely.
And really, it's not anybody's business where we resonate with religion, where we resonate with politics. And it's okay to just say you don't want to talk about it. Or, I do have friends that I really enjoy discussing politics with because we can approach them from our perspectives, but respectfully. And until we get back to that space as a society where we can have these differences and just have conversations and listen to understand, not listen to reply.
And I think it'd be such a much better place if we could all just say, you know what? I don't have those same beliefs as you, but I still love you and I still accept you for who you are. And we can still get along. It doesn't have to be a you versus them. It doesn't have to be like that.
Right.
Yeah, I just wish we could really be more all encompassing in that way.
Yes, absolutely. And so my, much like what Beth is saying is I think it's okay. It is definitely okay. Even if you still wanted to be a Sunday school teacher or,
absolutely,
go in and teach that curriculum, go in and teach that. That doesn't mean that, Beth isn't going to be sitting in church and saying, well, I don't agree with that, and pull out her tarot cards. It's respecting that space, and not always having to put in our complete
And
feelings.
I've tried to have conversations with a few different family members about what we do with this whole psychic medium, even the
Yes.
tarot. Like, I tried to explain to them that when I'm doing Reiki, or when I'm doing a reading, or tarot or otherwise,
Yes.
I feel more in touch with God than I do any other time.
Absolutely.
I call it God. You can call it whatever you want.
Right.
But I feel more in touch with that energy than any other time that I'm just living. Even in church. Like,
Absolutely.
if you're just sitting there and you're just singing the hymns and you're reciting the prayers, and are you really feeling the energy of God when you're doing
Absolutely.
that? Or are you just going through the motions?
Yes.
And when I try to explain that to people, it helps them understand a little bit, but they still don't get it,
Right.
because they think, how can you be in touch with God when you're talking to dead people?
Right.
Well, to me,
Yeah.
it's perfect sense. It's a
Yes.
very linear line.
Yes, I understand that. And and Lisa says, she says, I still have the relationship with God. I just don't believe I
Yep.
need the layers of the church between myself and God. And I understand this coming from, I also grew up Presbyterian.
Oh,
And yeah, and my husband, he's Catholic by religion, boxes. And I used to joke with him because he would talk about confession, and why do you have to just talk to God? Like, just talk to spirit, why do you have to go tell a priest so they can tell God? Like, to me, it's, I can have that direct relationship with God, with spirits, and when I do have these conversations, like Beth is saying, with my friends, and to me, I'll say, when you go to church and you sit and pray, you're talking to God. Your intent is to directly talk to God, and you're listening for his voice. You're listening for his guidance. What I'm doing really isn't different,
right.
except I'm not doing it in a church setting,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Yes, and you're taking in not just God, but all of the other spirits that are part of that world, that are
Right.
that have messages to tell us and that have healing to give us, and it's all a part of it, and taking it all in. And part of this whole journey continues to be just more learning, and into different aspects of everything. And one of the things that I've been diving into recently has been more on the paganism side
Mm,
of the beliefs.
right.
And it's amazing to me as I learn, and this is a whole nother podcast, but as I learn more about how religion has been manipulated and
Yes.
molded from those ancient beliefs. And you know that's my biggest problem with organized religion right now, is that it's so based on fear.
Yes.
And they I say they it's been done that way on purpose to manipulate
Right.
people. And that's my biggest problem with religion right now. And that's a whole nother podcast.
No, well, and I do, though, I like how you bring that up, because that's, and we're kind of going that way, with Lisa's question anyway, but that's one thing where I have found for myself, I find a lot of interest in, Greek mythology, in ancient religions, in current religions. And when you look at them, and even pulling in paganism or different beliefs, there is a consistent line or a consistent current that runs through all of them. And I've talked to spirit about this, and I'm like, okay, well, here they call you Odin, now we call you God, and they're just like, this was kind of the answer that I had received, is just like we evolve in our education, we evolve in our spirituality to move and to stay current. Spirit does the same thing. They evolve, they want to stay current with us. And I struggle too, like Beth was saying, with the current constraints of religion, because if you look at just Christianity, I'll use as an example. There are so many books that have been removed, and I'm currently reading the book of Enoch. It talks about giants. It talks about angels coming down and procreating with humans, not unlike Greek mythology or Roman mythology. That was a book in the Bible, guys, but we took it out.
They took it out.
So I just like, yes, educate ourselves all the way across the board. Allow your ideology to evolve. I like Dawn pops in. So good morning, Dawn. And she says, would you say it's more of a channeling of information that gets relayed? And how do you know it's different from your own voice? Do you experience any blocks when doing readings? And what does that feel like?
Oh, Dawn. This is so funny because her and I have talked about this a few times. And it's just, how do I know it's spirit? It's all about trust, and that has been where I have had to learn the most of just trusting. And through all of the classes, through all of the practice, through all of the fairs, just learning that spirit is there for you and they're not going to let you down. And I don't know if I don't. It's just knowing that they wouldn't lead you. I'm going to say it again. They wouldn't lead you to it if they didn't think you could handle it.
Right.
And it's not my own voice, but yet I couldn't describe it if I tried to.
Right.
It's just an inner knowing. And, and sometimes they're like yours, they're really sarcastic. Sometimes it's just more of a, you can almost feel them like,
yes,
me.
Well, and I like that because as you're saying that, what Spirit's showing me is, because I always say, like, I know it's spirit because they sound different from the normal voices in my head, which makes me sound completely crazy. But, like that conscious conversation that we have with ourselves, it resonates differently. But just like, and I think most of our viewers will understand this. If you're sitting in a room and you have your eyes closed and your husband walks in or your child walks in, you can feel that shift of energy. If I'm laying on the couch with my eyes closed and one of my pets walks over, I know which one it is. And it's kind of that way for me when Spirit's communicating with me. The energy feels different. It hits different, if that makes sense.
Yes. And it's kind of like a listen up. I have something to tell you kind of energy that just comes in.
Absolutely. Right? And so the last part of her question, blocks, right? I mean, I know I get blocks for mostly my own blocks that come in and inhibit me giving information. But how do you experience blocks when you're doing readings?
Well, when it first happens, there's that hit of panic. Like,
right.
Especially when you have somebody sitting in front of you in pain for a reading and you're like,
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the more that you panic, the faster it all shuts down. And again, it's one of those things where I have to just trust and listen. And but sometimes, when I get a block, I wonder, and maybe this is just me, like, I don't know. I wonder more if it's the person sitting in front of me.
Right.
And I have to almost connect with their energy to help them relax.
Yes, I agree 100%.
And then it's more like it flows open, and the dam breaks, and then we can get to what we need to get to.
Yes.
But a lot of times it's with that person right in front of me that I feel like I have to connect with on a different level before we can get anywhere. Right. Reading for myself always blocks.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard.
And I think that's part of growth when you're talking about reading for somebody else, because I know, like, as soon as somebody would say no, or as soon as I would panic. And now I've learned to embrace that. I've learned to go back and say, okay, give me a second.
Yeah.
Let me reevaluate this information. But I have met clients where they come in and they sit down and they say they want a reading, but you can feel that fear. You can feel that.
You can just feel the wall kind of go up.
Yes.
Like,
and so working through that.
almost like, I mean, I've had them where I feel like they're testing me. Like, come on, give me,
Yes.
what you can. Let's see
Yeah.
what you got, kind of
And
thing.
then that makes me like internally panic because you feel that.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm thinking, why are you sitting in front of me? Why are you paying me if you want me to fail? That doesn't make
Yes.
any sense.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. I'm the same way. It's like, do you really want to give me this money to prove that I'm wrong? Like, to me,
That
it's
I'm a fraud.
counterintuitive,
Like,
but
that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
no. So before we get to the card readings, Beth has graciously offered to give the insights. Maybe it's a little nudging from spirits, but she has agreed. I didn't twist her arm. She freely agreed to give some insight for the end of this year and the week ahead. Before that, I do want to remind you guys, we have a lot of great shows on the station. You can always log on to WLTK-DB.com. Check out the schedule. It's ever changing and there's a lot of shows to read off. So just go on there, check them out. There's a show for everybody. You're going to love the new shows, the shows that are up and coming in the planning. There is something there for all of us. If you would like to learn more about Beth, I have put up her Facebook site. Check out Young Intentions. And like I said, do you do your card readings daily, Beth?
I do them Monday through Friday for the most part.
Yeah. So hop in, check her out. She gives great readings, great insight to things that are coming on. And you're just awesome. I've always loved your energy. She's such an awesome person, guys. So please check her out. We have some very exciting lineups coming up on the show next week for the new year. We have another colleague and friend of ours, psychic medium Jessica, will be coming on, and she's going to do a live reading show. I'm really excited to bring her out to hopefully a broader spectrum and getting some more people to meet her also, because you guys will love her. She gives such great messages. So please tune in next week for the live reading show. Then coming up, we will have Resnick, who is a paranormal investigator with the CAPS team, coming on the show, coming in to talk about what happens when those paranormal investigations follow you home and how you work through being an investigator when you have abilities. So it's going to be very exciting. I'm happy to have him on. We will also have Deidre Sanford, who is a fellow host. If you guys are regular to the network, you are familiar with her show, Self Care. She is a certified root cause therapist and psychic medium. So she will be coming up on the show. I'm super excited. Make sure you guys mark it down. And then at the end of the month, we will have the Lehigh Valley medium, Matthew Camont, coming on. And he is a psychic medium and spiritual advisor. A fantastic resource for you guys. So I hope you will mark your calendars for all of our upcoming guests. And I am going to turn the show over now to Beth, with lots of thanks to you coming on. I'm so excited that you finally agreed to be on here. And I hope people will tune into you because you just have this great energy. I just love you to pieces.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Thanks
thank you.
for being persistent too.
Yeah, I try not to be too. I'm like, all right, like once a month, I would just check in. Are you ready yet? Like, no pressure. Are you ready yet?
No pressure. Okay, so I did pull 3 cards and I just asked, what do we need to know for the beginning of this year? And the first card we got was the 4 of Wands in the reversed position. And that card is really about, in the upright position, it's a lot about celebrations and enjoying those moments of celebration within your community, within your family, within your household. It is in the reversed position. So again, that doesn't mean a negative thing. It's just a different form to the energy. So just, to me, it's just saying be open to those moments of celebration. They may not be huge moments of celebration. It might not be a wedding. It might not be a birthday. It might not be a holiday, but there are celebrations all the time that we need to pay attention to and really live in that moment and appreciate. Okay. The second one that I got was the 9 of Cups. And I love the 9 of Cups. This cups are all about emotion and being, this card is very much about being proud of your accomplishments, feeling that pride for what you've accomplished, and knowing that there's more to come and it's going to get better and better. This is a great card. Just live in the moment. These are very much about live in the moment cards and being very much appreciative for where you're at and what you've accomplished so far. And then the last one we got is the Wheel of Fortune card, which is a major arcana card. So that's a little bit more overall encompassing. And the Wheel of Fortune card is, you know, life is a cycle. And this card is just representing that the cycle will continue throughout the year, but when things don't feel like they're going as well as they could be, just know that it's a cycle, and eventually it will turn around and it will become the time of your life. It's always a cycle. So just keep that in mind when things aren't always going great, that it's a cycle.
What beautiful messages. Thank you so much, Beth, for doing that today. I love your cards too. What deck do you use?
It's just the Rider-Waite tarot cards. Yep.
Beautiful.
You're very basic. It's the first deck I ever bought, and I've never found one that I connect with better. So that's what I use.
Sometimes I kind of get like that too. I have the one Oracle deck that just, it resonates with me and I love it. Thank you so much for the messages and so much for being here. It's just been a joy. And I want to let everybody know, you're not alone in working through these things. I know Beth would love to be a resource. I would love to be a resource. So if you're out there, if you're struggling with abilities, if you're struggling with understanding, what does spirit want from me? What am I supposed to work through? Reach out to anybody on these platforms, because that's why we're here.
And that's the best thing. I think I wish I would have known that 4 years ago, because I feel like that's the best thing you can do is reach out to people who are like-minded. And, we may not agree on everything, but we can certainly support and encourage and educate as much as we can. So, yes. Please.
Yes. And I know, and I don't know if it was this way for you, Beth, but when I first came into a circle and finding like-minded people, I kind of shied away from reaching out. I shied away from connecting, because even though, okay, you guys say like, hey, but then there was that, oh, I can't talk to her. Like, her abilities are fantastic, or she's going to look down on me.
Yes.
Don't do that, people. I mean, we've all done it.
It truly is not a competition. And that's taken me a long time to learn. And I'm still learning it, because there's still those moments that it flares up, especially when you're at a fair or something and you see what other people are doing.
Right.
It's not a competition. We all have a space in this.
We do. And we're all, my belief is the right person finds the right person. Mm-hmm. And so we're all here for that. There's plenty of people in this world for us all to reach and for us all to help. So don't hesitate. Reach out, find somebody that resonates with you for that support or for some of those answers.
Absolutely.
And so with that, I wish you, Beth, a wonderful new year, and everybody, to our viewers, have a happy, blessed new year. And thank you for being here. We will see you next week for our live reading show with psychic medium Jessica. I hope you all have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.